Hello, welcome to this BoxingAfrica.com exclusive. Peter Zwennes, the president of Ghana Boxing Authority. Mr. Zwennes, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll ask you, how would you assess Ghana boxing in 2019 so far?
Well, 2019 has been quite a difficult time for us. Difficult in the sense that we had Dogboe, Isaac, losing his title and losing the rematch as well. That has been a very bitter pill for us to swallow. But of course, on the flip side, we had cause to smile. Richard Commey restored our smiles and brought smiles back to our faces with his win of the world title. And as you know, he's fighting this Friday, and we are wishing him all the best. We are hopeful and very confident that he will retain the title. There have been other fights in between, but principally what makes it a difficult year for us is that we started the boxing league on a good note. We secured some sponsorship and we have been making significant progress until we run out of funds. We are currently reigniting our request for sponsorship. We've received some promises, some offers, and we are following up in the hope that we can resume the boxing league and complete it. We had about 3 or 4 more fights to complete the first round, and so we need to complete that and then get on to the second round as well.
Okay, so personally yourself, what were the goals you set out, to accomplish during this your second term as president of Ghana Boxing Authority, and where do those goals stand now?
Well, for me, every time this question is posed, I say that the goals are principally to win more world titles. That has been the principal goal. Notwithstanding everything you do, I think that the period will always be remembered for the world titles that the country won. There's still hope as far as winning world titles is concerned. I believe that even though Isaac Dogboe lost his title, he's capable of making a good comeback. We have all the title hopefuls like Duke Micah. Of course, Richard Commey is world champion, and Wasiru Mohammed, the young chap who is knocking on the doors, is a world title hopeful as well. Emmanuel Tagoe, the Game Boy, is also back where he belonged, and he's gone a notch higher, being rated, I believe, number 1.
Number 1 WBO lightweight.
WBO, yes, the lightweight division, and we are hoping that his managers will be able to secure the world title shot for him before the year ends. So there's a lot of activity on the scene. Equally very promising boxers, Patrick Alote, Bullet, Ansa, a whole host of very promising fighters who should be able to make us proud before the year is out.
Okay. Then Ghana has a rich history of producing fighters. Can you name some up-and-coming boxers who have caught your eye?
Well, as I said, there are so many of them, but I believe Wasiru Mohammed is the most prominent of the young ones who is knocking on the doors of stardom. We have a whole host of others in the other divisions coming up, and if they get the proper tutelage and their managers are able to secure good fights for them, we should see most of them in the ratings and also getting world title shots.
Okay. Ghana currently has only 1 world champion, as you rightly said already, Richard Commey. Can you give us your thoughts on him as a person and as a fighter?
Well, he is one boxer who, for me, has persevered to get where he is, given the raw deals that were meted out to him in his fights with Easter and Shafikov. Somebody else would have turned his back and walked away, but not Richard. He's persevered. His manager, Michael Amubediakum, has fought very hard to keep him in the ratings, to get him warm-up fights, for him to be consistent in his delivery. And I think that if there's any tribute that should be paid to him for his, role as a world champion, it is his perseverance.
So he takes on Ray Bertrand in a first defense of the title this Friday. How do you see the fight playing out?
Well, it should be a good fight. Bertrand is an experienced fighter, a Mexican for that matter. I've watched his fights a couple of times. He is good, but Richard is in a class of his own now. He's in a category which I believe is a notch higher than Bertrand's, and with the ambition and the fire in his belly, and more world champions staring at him, championship staring at him, I believe Bertrand cannot stand in this way. I have every confidence that Richard will lift high the flag and keep it aloft come Friday.
Thank you. And talking about, world title shots, there's Yusuf Kinko Agbeko, former IBF champion twice, and he's now on the, a comeback trail as the WBO #1 ranked in bantamweight. He's the Africa WBO champion. What are your thoughts on his, comeback ambitions of winning the world title again?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, even though people may age in the sport, when they are very experienced and they are determined to stage comebacks, there's always a possibility they can win back their titles. We've seen it happen several times. George Foreman at 50 became a world heavyweight champion once again. And there have been instances when older champions have staged comebacks. The Manny Pacquiaos and others are still fighting. So for me, Agbeko is not an exception. I think that he suffered some downward trend, with 1 or 2 losses, the loss of his title and the loss to Rigondo. But I think since then he's quietly, been training and packaging himself and putting himself back in the reckoning. And I won't be surprised if he gets a world title shot and makes us proud again with another world title.
Okay, then there's also Emmanuel Tagoe, you already mentioned, another top-rated Ghanaian. But people have often complained that he doesn't fight outside Ghana. Do you think he's able to fight outside the country?
Yes, he should be able to fight outside the country. I do recall he's fought outside the country once in the US.
Yeah.
And recently we were made to understand that his management had secured a new promotional deal, I believe with Top Rank. I believe it was with Top Rank, and he was supposed to go out to the States and engage in fights prior to getting a shot at the world title. I don't know what happened to that plan by the management, but I'm made aware of the fact that he'll be having a warm-up fight in Kumasi, I think in July. I hope and pray that the original plan to get him there to fight is still on the table, and that he will get there eventually and put himself in a pole position to fight eventually for the world title.
And talking about champions, Joshua Clottey, he's now 41 years old. The last time he fought at the Bukom Boxing Arena, afterwards he announced his retirement. Later he was saying he just wanted the media to assess his performance and tell him if he should retire or should continue. You were there at ringside. What do you think? Was it the right time for him to call it a day, or he can still fight?
I think he can still fight. We all saw his performance that day. It was quite impressive for his age. He fought a very young fighter who was also very good, and he showed all of us that he was still, capable of delivering. I was a bit surprised when he decided to, chip in the issue of the retirement, because we all thought that having that fight was a way of announcing that he was, returning to the ring in a big time. I still believe that he may still want to fight, and have one or two very important fights before he calls it a day. And like Agbeko, I believe that notwithstanding his age, he still has the capacity to go forward and fight and bring back a world title. So we are wishing him all the best at Endeavor as well.
And finally, the future of Ghana boxing, how does it look like?
Well, Ghana boxing, the future is always bright as long as we have the potential, and they are moving forward and getting into the ratings and getting world title shots. We will continue to produce world champions to make this country proud.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Zwennes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.